Hey, I wanted to do a quick demo of the OpenGraph Plus macOS app that I've been working on. Before we jump into that, if you're unfamiliar with OpenGraph, essentially what it is, if you get a link, maybe through messages or on Slack or something like that, if it doesn't have OpenGraph, you're going to see just a link like this. It's small. There's not much to it. But if you have OpenGraph enabled on your website, which is essentially adding meta tags that serve up an image, this is the image that gets served up. OpenGraph Plus, if you don't have OpenGraph on your website or you just have a static image, it actually takes a screenshot of each web page. And then that screenshot is taken at a size that's optimal for that social network. So Apple, Skype, Discord, WhatsApp, Facebook, all these things, they actually all need slightly different size images. And OpenGraph Plus takes care of that. So you get a rendition for Facebook, you get a different one for Twitter, and all those fun things. All right, so the problem I was running into is whenever you go to the website, I have people enter the URL for their website. And let's just say that, I don't know, one of the Google founders comes in and says, hey, I want OpenGraph for google.com. They'd punch that in here. And if they wanted their API key, they could put their email in there, and then within 10 minutes, they'd have it. But here's what google.com looks like today if somebody sends a link. And with OpenGraph Plus, it would be this screenshot. It's pretty basic. It still needs a lot of configuration, which is what I'm going to show you the macOS app. But this is what you would just get out of the box. All right, so take notice of this page right here. We have this header up here. And if we inspect the element in that header, I'm going to show you that we have this special modifier in Tailwind called OG plus hidden. And you'll see actually OG plus in a lot of different tags in here. And what that says is like, hey, whenever OpenGraph Plus is taking a screenshot of this thing, kick these CSS rules in. So the question is, how can we preview that? There is this bookmarklet that I made a while ago, but that was kind of a hack, and I wanted something a bit more substantial. So I made a macOS app. And right now it works well with Safari. So you hit this share thing and then OpenGraph Plus, and then you can see what this thing will screenshot as whenever it's OpenGraph Plus takes a screenshot of it. So you can see that the header is hidden. We have this new floating badge here, and I'll show you what that looks like. But the important thing in this macOS app is that we can kind of zoom in and out. If we want to take a closer look at stuff, we can see what it looks like in the different consumers. So if we want to see what that looks like in Slack, we see it's much smaller. And let's just get into it. Like I want to make this little logo. It's too big. I really don't want it floating up top. So let's play around with it. And you can kind of see what it looks like looking at some of the code for this thing. All right, so this is Flex. Just ignore the fact that it's Flex. If this was ERB, it would work the same. You could do this with vanilla CSS too. It's not just Tailwind. There's like a ton of ways to do it. But actually, let's start by deleting this, and then you can get a sense of here's what this would look like if we didn't have that modifier. So this is the regular website, and we see the OG.plus logo on the top right. Obviously, we don't want that on the regular website. So we add that little bit of Tailwind, right? And saying, hey, by default, this little floating logo pill is hidden. And whenever OpenGraph is taking a screenshot of it, we want it to be a block. And that's how we get this little block up here whenever we're in the OpenGraph renderer. Now, I want to move this logo down, so to the bottom. So we're just going to say, all right, let's hook this thing up to the bottom. And now we can see that logo is in the bottom. And I don't know, is it too big? Maybe it is, but I think I'm happy with that. I have this decent looking kind of preview. I think people can kind of get a sense of, yeah, okay, I see these cards right here and something's happening. So I'm going to call it and say that this is a successful change. But you can see, like, if we change, let's try a different website so that you can see how Open Graph images being dynamic is important. So let's try ycombinator.com. Or actually, let's do Hacker News because I know they're not going to have Open Graph Plus. They're implemented in Arc. All right, so if you sent somebody a Hacker News link today, this is what it would look like. Not much to it. But if Hacker News decided to deploy Open Graph Plus, which they could, this would work well in Arc. There could be an Arc meta tag that's thrown in here that generates these meta tags. All right, so let's see what this looks like though. We have our little dynamic thing here. So whenever we generate a preview of this thing, we should see the page synced up with what we have in the windows. And here it is. Preview for ycombinator.com, before opengraph.com, and after OpenGraph Plus. And we have that little badge down here. So this is kind of the power of having these dynamic OpenGraph tags based on your website. What's funny, I looked at 1,000 websites and like half of them don't have OpenGraph. The ones that do typically have static images for everything. So each page is the same. And you can imagine like if I wanted to like put this in front of Dang in a chat or something, I might say, hey, go to this website. And then he gets it on his phone. He's like, wow, I see Hacker News on here and preview for Y Combinator. Of course I'm going to click on that. So that's the advantage of having these dynamic pages as opposed to just having like nothing that's synced with the page. But this app's pretty new. I'm waiting for approval to get this thing on test flight right now. And as soon as I get that thing on test flight, I will share it on Twitter. So check it out. Hope you enjoyed this demo, and hopefully you're starting to understand why having dynamic OpenGraph images makes a lot of sense for a website. And if you want to try this today, you can go to opengraphplus.com, punch in your URL to kind of see what your website looks like. And yeah, it takes like 10 minutes to install this thing. It's just meta tags. I run all the headless Chrome renderers, so I'm taking on the heavy lifting of making all this magic happen. And your API for this thing is just these meta tags. So you have your image tag, and then there's these helpers. So you actually don't need like any kind of plugins to make this work if you really wanted to. But if you are into plugins, there is a Rails gem. Creating plugins is very easy for this for other frameworks. So the plan is I'm just going to like crank out tons and tons of plugins for this. And it really is this easy. You add OpenGraph Plus, you give it your API key, and then you add the meta tag helper to your page. And that's it. It just generates these meta tag helpers. And then whenever you want to like tweak like how this thing looks, one I recommend is like changing the viewport to be 800. So this is mobile. You don't really want a desktop screenshot. You want something that looks more mobile because sites look better, I think, in their mobile viewport, and there's less stuff on it. You can do little tweaks like styles. This is kind of how the CSS works under the hood and how you get all these different variants of the thing. And of course, the Tailwind stuff that I was just demoing. It's what you would expect for Tailwind. So it's pretty cool. You can take screenshots of part of the page. There's template support as well. The images can be taken every single time that there's a share, or you can cache your pages. So if your page doesn't update that often, maybe you have a blog or something, you just like update it once a year. You could set the cache on that image generation to a year. And then if something happens where you need to flush it, there's a command line interface to flush it. So check it out. If you're a Rails developer, like this thing is super streamlined. I'm shooting for like, I want all Rails websites to have OpenGraph in under 10 minutes. Maybe I should change that to 5, but under 10 minutes, you have some reasonable OpenGraph previews, and hopefully the web starts to look much better if more people get OpenGraph Plus installed on their websites. See you later.